Yeah, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, actually. And France just gave me a good reason. Like the West is misogynistic and always has been. And I mean that according to the uh, dictionary definition. They hate women, truly. There's no other culture or civilization in history, in my opinion, that degrades and belittles women as much as the West. They objectify women so profoundly that women in the West objectify themselves.
The West is misogynistic for not forcing modesty police on women. How about the Taliban? Are they misogynistic?
So what we know from their own statements is that the Taliban has closed schools for girls in most of the provinces in Afghanistan. So when you already have the villain narrative in your head, something like this just serves as a confirmation that the Taliban is, oppressive and evil. Never mind that education in Afghanistan has been run under the auspices of American NGOs and American programs for the last 20 years. And they're teaching a curriculum that many Americans themselves don't want in their schools. And because of that type of curriculum, many Americans take their kids out of schools and teach them at home instead. So it could be argued that the Taliban is not prohibiting education for girls, but miseducation for girls. They have said that once they get the curriculum cleaned up, schools will open up again. So time will tell.
Are Taliban good or bad? Now, those of you that have the attention span of a goldfish, a conclusion is going to be, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Okay, but there's so many different variables. Okay, so the media is emphasizing that the women won't be able to go to school. Yeah, they've been drilling this in. However, it's failing to highlight that the girls are already back to school.
Taliban Minister of Higher Education. Islam never allows women to engage in prostitution under the pretext of education. She is obliged to produce children and serve her man, not to get educated.
They used to wonder, whether or not women have souls. And it seems like they ultimately decided that they don't. Women are nothing to them but bodies. Women are nothing but bodies in Western culture. They're decorations. Women's bodies are supposed to be part of the scenery, nothing but props. That's why you can even have this absurd debate about what a woman is, because if she is nothing but a body, which is what she is in the West, if she's nothing but, lipstick and breasts, hips and a hairdo, then she can be replicated.
In contrast to Islam, who truly engage in identity politics and actually separate humans according to their genitals and breasts, the West gives women their full human and legal rights. So on one hand, we have identity politics and treating societies like a bee colony. On the other hand, we have individuals with equal rights choosing to follow toxic feminism. Individuals who choose to do that. So, on one hand, we have a toxic patriarchy. On the other hand, you have individuals. We can begin to excuse your blatant bigotry, claiming that all Westerners just hate women and see women as objects, as a miscalculation. But when, at the same time, you gave the benefit of the doubt to the Taliban when it comes to women's rights, that exposes your true colors. You are not coming from a place of reason, you are coming from a place of dogma. You are just another Islamist.
A man can make himself look like that. He can do a convincing performance, an exaggerated impression of what a woman is, a lampoon. He can do what's essentially a gender minstrel show. Instead of blackface, it's lipstick and makeup and a wig, plus some hormone injections. Because they really think that that's all that women are, and that's all they want women to be.
People who are misogynistic in the sense of hating women and thinking women as objects are very few individuals in each society, and they are in the category of psychopaths. So this argument doesn't work for Muslims, neither Westerners. That is a haste generalization that is so outrageous, is point blank bigotry. Of course, I don't think you are a bigot. You are just incredibly bad in thinking. You said the definition of misogyny is hate of women. No, in fact, it's more than that. Misogyny is dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women. When you want to figure out whether the West or Islam is misogynistic, you don't go to individuals, you go to the institutions. You don't see, Bob is misogynistic, therefore the West is misogynistic. But then John might not be misogynistic. So you go to the institutions. The West gives equal rights and opportunities to women by institution. The institution. Okay. So it's not prejudice against women. Islam, on the other hand, is outrageously prejudice against women. And it shows point blank contempt for women.
Those who have not entrenched themselves in denying reality due to dogma should by now know traditional Islam is misogynist, as it exhibits a harrowing prejudice against women. In traditionalist Islam, women are considered cattle. They are deprived of fundamental human rights, such as the right to education, the freedom to experience love and marry without constraints. They are denied self-determination and personhood through restrictions on movement and expression. These constraints demand a sterile conformity veiled as piousness and willingness to be subjugated veiled as modesty. While the value of women in Islam is appraised based on what they can provide for men. Within Sharia, women hold the status of second-class citizens. They are institutionalized to serve men, subjected to brainwashing, and coerced by law to accept various humiliating concessions. Being disciplined by their husbands, even with beating. They are coerced to accept other women in their household, accept their husbands having sexual relations with concubines, and even having a secret second family. Islam permits husbands to lie to their wives. Also, Allah through the Quran reveals all kind of humiliating contempt for women by calling them half a brain. Muhammad, in the Hadith, comparing them with dogs. A woman cannot enter a cemetery to mourn her loved ones, cannot refuse intercourse with her husband, cannot engage in public sports, and even her menstruation is a cause for her to enter hell. That is the wet dream of misogyny. Traditional Islamic thought perpetuates a toxic patriarchy. Apologists try to hide this fact by positing a fake comparison against toxic feminists who they are being used as a straw man to diverge from the sad reality of the status of women in Islam. They attempt to dismiss the distressing reality by either distorting it with such mental adorations or by feigning that it is the will of women to be in such a position. However, unless one chooses to reside in a sort of fairy tale like the Emperor's New Clothes, the truth is glaringly evident and indisputable.
Okay, so on one hand, the West is not misogynistic. On the other hand, you need to be brain dead. Brain dead. To think Islam is not misogynistic. Then you said something about transgender people. In Islam, the word consent doesn't exist in their dictionary. So it's an unknown word, okay, whatsoever. Consent, it's an unknown word for Islam. Also, freedom and individuality are not part of Islamic values. They don't exist. Freedom and individuality, what's that? they don't have these concepts. So any moral analysis is defected exactly because they are missing the concept of freedom, which some say is the ultimate virtue. So how can you make moral judgments without even knowing the word freedom? Okay, Islam means surrender. So the word freedom is not in your values. So when you try to make moral judgments and you are missing freedom, the ultimate virtue for some, obviously you are handicapped, morally handicapped. More than that, exactly because there is no value of truth in Islam, is only the value of Islamic supremacy. They constantly engage in double talk and inconsistencies. This guy, in an old video, he was claiming that Aisha at the age of 6 was an adult and can choose what to do with her body. But now transsexuals apparently are being appropriated by the West to change their gender. Okay, this is a double talk. This, let's face it, idiots do. Okay, because they don't value truth. Okay. In one case, they say Etsy, in the other case, Juvetsi. Because they are not, because they don't see truth, they see always what bullshit they will say to promote Islam.
You know that's what they want women to be, because that's what they reward women for being. I mean, I saw a report that's a few years old, but it showed that strippers make as much money as a lawyer on average. Now, in a materialistic culture of commodification like the West, it's easy to see what the society approves of and what they value, because that's who gets paid. Conformity with expectations is monetized, it's rewarded. So when you send the message to women and to girls that wealth can be rapidly expedited for them if they take off their clothes on stage or on camera, rather than develop their minds, rather than develop their skills, their character, and so on, when you tell women and girls that you're going to have to go to university for years, you're going to have to be in the workforce for years before society will monetarily reward you anywhere close to what it will reward you right now, today, if you will just objectify yourself and get naked in front of strangers. The message is crystal clear. We want you to be what we think you are, which is a sexual object.
Okay, you idiot. Okay, sorry. Sorry, because I always curse them in the beginning, so the first shock of their stupidity goes away, and I calm down, and then I can respond. So, okay, you idiot. You gave the benefit of the doubt to the Taliban, so it's only fair to assign to you this statement. This is not a random toxic feminist that you present as Western. This is the Minister of Higher Education in Afghanistan. Let's see what he says. Islam never allows women to engage in prostitution under the pretext of education. She is obliged to produce children and serve her man, not to get educated. In contrast, you idiot, in the West, women have equal opportunities and equal rights. Okay? So, in contrast to you, that you actually objectify women to serve men, in the West they are free to chase their dreams. You insulted the West many times already. Okay? So, let me educate you how those things work. You idiot. First of all, my friend, you need to separate arguments from statements. Okay? You just describe what you think. Okay? You just make a sweet story in your mind, and because it doesn't contradict logic in a direct way, so you didn't say that a square cycle. Therefore, just because you can formulate some thoughts, what? It became true. Okay, so what did you say just now? You say, first of all, women who engage in prostitution or pornography is their choice. We know that you are an Islamist and you don't have the word consent in your dictionary, or freedom or individuality, but in the real world, those words exist. Okay, so if you go to I don't know, if you make a brain transplant, and some doctors make you a lobotomy, Sorry. Okay, so, but this word exists, my friend. This word exists. Freedom, individuality, consent. So, there is no conspiracy of men behind closed doors. What we will do now, let's put in the screen certain things because we are horny and we want women to show more body, and let's bring the Jews. Only uncivilized people think everything with teleology, my friend. No wonder you are a Muslim. You are thinking everything with teleology. Nature for you is all a conspiracy. For everything, there must be somebody planned. Okay, so there are things that are not planned. So there are not, the West didn't do anything to these women. They just chose to go to pornography, to do pornography or prostitution. They chose because they are free individuals. The same way men might choose to do all other promiscuous things. Okay? So, and why you take the minority and you present like as a standard? Why you idiot? Why you are doing that? Why you take a pixel of, this is a prostitute. The West is prostitute. Why you are doing that, my friend? Why you are doing that? It's so annoying. You are mentally handicapped. Then we know that you are a communist, you idiot. We know that you are a communist. You want to regulate the markets. Yes, people pay in a free market for prostitution. So what we should do? We should have Islam to regulate the markets, and let's bring Marx. That is what we should do about that. Regulate the markets. Because you don't like, I don't know, women being paid. What people pay is what people want. Okay? So, it's me, for example. Okay? If now I'm going to say that I'm going to do prostitution. No, I will never do prostitution. But there might be some other guy who will see a beautiful woman in a strip show, and he will have money, and he will choose again to pay her for a strip show. What should we do? We have Mohammed and Ahmed back on his back and tell him, no, you will not do that because Muhammad not do Allah. Then all your history, you shameless buffoon, is all promiscuous stuff. Muhammad allowed prostitution. In the Quran, it says prostitution is a good thing, and then it was abrogated. Muhammad had concubines, sex slaves. These people are talking like Muhammad was Gandhi. And you are getting in the high, like you don't have a promiscuity. The concubines, my friend, in your cult, they are allowed to be naked from the top up. In fact, they are forced to be naked from the top up. You can have 100 concubines that you can rape every day. And you give advice to the West. Okay, guys, that was, this response was, but I will keep it because it shows my...
And if you'll go along with that, you will be generously rewarded. We don't think you have dignity. We don't think you have honor. We don't think you're decent. We think that you're agents of the devil and instruments of sin. You caused the fall of man. That's deeply embedded in the cultural thinking of the West. And clothes, being covered, covering your nakedness, is only for the dignified. That's why they strip you in interrogations, to break you down, to humiliate you, to demean you, to create an imbalance of power between you and the interrogators. I know what I'm talking about because they did it to me. They do it to make you vulnerable. Well, that's what the Western society does to women. Forget about slut shaming. They practice modesty shaming, virtue shaming, dignity shaming. Because who are you to think that every man in the public sphere isn't supposed to be able to see your body?
Guys, why France has a ban on schools of hijab and now the other dress, the Muslim dress? Let me think. It might be because of Islamic separatism and to counter political Islam from France. That might be. Then on the other hand, it might be because the West wants to see more booty. Let me see. What is counter Islamism or seeing more booty? How dumb can you possibly be? Okay, guys, there is no, okay, we have Islam because we have dumb people. Islam is the religion of the dumb. They never learn. They have no ability whatsoever to learn. Everything that happens to them, they rationalize it in a way that they are the victims and the other people are evil. Okay, so, you idiot! Okay, this legislation against Islamic separatism, this is how they call it, against Islamic separatism, started after the beheading of Emmanuel Paty. Okay, if you were not a complete moron, okay, and you had the slightest self-reflect, the slightest, okay, after a beheaded teacher in a classroom, you see something happening. Instead of saying, for this not to happen, we need to stop terrorism and Islamic separatism, you make a story. Obviously the West make a secret plan because they like to see booty and they like to see the bodies of women. That's why they do that. It has nothing to do with Islam. Nothing to do that a teacher just been beheaded. You are a moron. You moron.
So here's the thought. Muslim sisters want to attend class and they're not allowed to wear the abaya. Why don't they try attending class, wrapping themselves in the French flag, and see what the officials will do? You would preserve your modesty and you would push the issue to where France would have to admit that this actually doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with secularism. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the separation of religion from the state, but it has everything to do with targeting Islam. That would force the issue. It would force them to have to admit that this is actually an anti-Muslim regulation. Because how are you going to be offended if your students are coming to class wrapping themselves in your national flag?
So after 2 days, guys, this guy admits that it's not about objectifying women and the West just want to strip women. They actually want to target Islam. Isn't that right? So let me calm down and explain that to you like you are an 8-year-old, because your mind is of an 8-year-old. Okay. To stop the reaction you are feeling that you call Islamophobia, how you counter Islamophobia? The cause of Islamophobia, you mentally retarded idiot, is terrorism, in other words, Muslim behaviors, and the regressive teachings in Islam. So, it's Muslim behaviors and Islamic doctrines. This is the cause of Islamophobia. Okay. When you want to counter Islamophobia, you don't need to fix the minds of Westerners. You need to fix yourself, you idiot. The Westerners are not doing stuff because what your mythology suggests, because they want to see more breasts and because they are weirdos, because they like women strip. Are you serious, my friend? So all that is happening because Westerners want to see women strip. It's not happening because they want to counter your toxic ideology. Are you serious, my friend? God damn it, guys, it's... Sorry. Anyway, I will keep this stuff. It's my first reaction. I always do that in my videos. Okay, first, I take out on camera and then I calm down and I make a more intellectual, precise response. But this period I don't have time because I'm working. But more or less you understand what I'm saying. Thank you very much.